Hey guys, it's Damien from Marketing Food Online and Cottage Food Business. Having a food business at home in the state of Colorado is what this podcast is going to be all about. All right, guys, so let's get into Colorado's state cottage food business and what you can make and what you can't make and why it's one of the best states to have a food business from home. So let's get into what exactly is Colorado's state in regards to what you can make and what you can't. So Colorado has a really unique law, and it's kind of much different than most other states, actually. They actually limit the amount of dollar sales that you can do from home based upon the product, okay? And that's around $10,000. So per year, what they do is they limit you based upon the individual product as opposed to your overall sales, which is something really unique and different than most states because traditionally they just give you a flat dollar amount or say, you know what, you can do $15,000, $20,000 a year, period, that's it. So Colorado is different in that if you have, let's say, 7 different flavors of a product, or if you can come up with even more than that, you could do $70,000 in sales because it's $10,000 per product. Now, there is a little bit of a catch to that. You have to maintain really good records of the sales of those different flavors. So if you're selling $10,000 of a chocolate flavored, whatever the product may be, and then you have a strawberry flavor and cherry, you can keep records of each one of those. You can potentially make $30,000 off of those 3 different products, which is really interesting. Now, the types of venues that you can do are pretty extensive, which makes it great in Colorado to have a food-based business from home. So being online, they actually said that your products can be purchased online, but orders would have to be obviously, delivered in person like any other cottage food business. The transaction itself has to take place between you and the end user. Farmers markets, roadside stands, and of course from home. If you're comfortable with having people come to your home to pick up the products, you can definitely do that. I know that my wife and I started many years ago doing that before we got into our commercial place. We kind of we weren't really happy. We weren't really comfortable, I guess you could say, with having people come to our home and such. So we did a lot of just farmers markets and fairs and festivals, those types of things, and we were much more suited for that. Now, the one thing you want to keep in mind is when you do a sale online, by the way, the internet sale, there's only very few states that do that. Colorado's one. But if you make a sale online, you have to have that delivered in person. So I kind of agree with that, and I kind of wouldn't suggest it, only because if you're in one part of the state and somebody's on the other side of the state and they buy a product that's outside of your county or your city, I don't think it would make sense for you to drive or have a customer come from the other side of the state to pick up a handful of cookies or baked goods. I don't think they would do that. But to have a website, developing a website, having one in case you down the road, when you evolve and you turn into something that's more commercial and you're in a different setting and you want to be online and such and make sales that way and start shipping products, it would be a good thing to do that. I've always recommended having a presence online, whether you are from home or not, because it's definitely good to at least inform your customers of what you have. And then later down the road, you can change that website into an e-commerce business website. So, all right. So let's see. The other services that are prohibited, actually the venues, going to restaurants and retail stores. There are a handful of states that allow that, but this is one that does not. You can't necessarily sell it to a third party who would then sell it to somebody else. Okay, so between you and the customer, as always, you really have to have the transaction take place. You can't sell it to a retail store that then the store sells that to a potential customer, or a restaurant who could potentially, let's say you make cakes or pies and they want to use them as desserts. That's something that you can't do. You'd have to do that in a commercial kitchen and then sell it from there. Now, by the way, I would double check. We just did a couple new videos about commercial kitchens and culinary incubators, which are kitchens that allow you to rent that space. If you wanted to produce a product in those commercially licensed facilities that are inspected and such, and then you sell that product to a restaurant or a retail store for use, that is something that would be allowed. Of course, double check within your county and city for the more specific details, because in the cottage food business, when you have a home-based food business, the states have laws, and then it trickles down to the cities and the counties they may have different ordinances and rules and regulations as well. And of course, that varies. Every single county can say this, or this, and then the state could say this, or this. So whatever city you're in and county, double check with them about what exactly you would need to do to make it completely legal and safe and all that good stuff within your city and county. So now the prohibited services. Now, again, wholesale is something that would be considered a third party because you can't sell a wholesale big batch of product, let's say, from your home to a retail store or somebody else who's a wholesaler. You can't do that. Catering, that's also something that would be prohibited because you're going to be dealing with catering is a lot of times it's food related, not necessarily baked goods or cookies. And you're going to be dealing with time and temperature sensitive products. So you can't do a catering business from home, but you can do it from a commercial kitchen. That's much different. So now when you go to these events, wherever it may be, if it's a festival, a fair, or some type of an event locally and you're selling it, you got to make sure that you have a sign displayed that says that the product is produced in a home kitchen, okay? And it's not subject to state license or inspection, okay? So, and also that the product would be not intended for resale. So people who are buying it from, let's say, a farmer's market can't buy it in bulk and then take it home and then resell it again. That's something that's not allowed because that would be considered kind of like a third party because that's not the end user. So your products may be sold online and delivered within Colorado. Now, I read a little bit of information that it can be shipped within the state. That was something that was interesting about the internet sales rule. You might want to double check again with your local county and city on that. But I did find some information that it could be sold through the internet, but it has to be within. You can't ship it outside of Colorado, but it would be shipped within. Now, the other thing that you want to keep in mind is that although your product cannot be resold, you can assign a designated representative to sell them on your behalf. Now, that's something that's also unique to Colorado, and something, again, you want to double check with your county and city on what their specific ordinances are. So now, what can you make? That's the big question. What are the type of things that you can make? As always, non-potentially hazardous foods. Okay, those are items that are not time or temperature sensitive. Those are products that don't have meats in them or cheeses that are exposed to the air, like a Danish that has a cheese on it. The things that are allowed would be stuff that would be like brownies and muffins, scones and cookies, breads, rolls, tortillas and biscuits and those types of things. Which opens itself up, by the way, to an enormous amount of different flavor compositions and flavors. If you take a recipe and you can play with the flavors and you can add a lot of different flavors to it, then you can create a huge line of products. And it's not very limited. This is enormous, the different types of items that you can make. Now, this is going into the fall, and I would definitely keep in mind that there's a lot of events that traditional candies and fudge, brittles, cotton candies and baked candies, those types of things are hugely popular, and they're very cheap to make. So the margins, the profits are huge on those if you're looking to do something locally. So condiments such as honeys and pickles and vinegars are perfectly allowed. If you're doing coffee beans or herbs, if you want to do herb blends and mixes, we actually were at a recent event where there was a gentleman, him and his son had a company that had a herb company, believe it or not, seasoning company. And they actually mixed them with cream cheeses and made dips, but they had like 30 different flavors. And this guy's booth was selling them like crazy. So if you came up with some type of herb blend or seasoning blend that could be used for dips, those are hugely popular. And again, putting those together, that's something that's very inexpensive. When you buy them in bulk and you're mixing those herbs like that and reselling them, this gentleman was selling them for like $6 or $7 a packet. And I know that it would probably cost pennies to make. So there's a big opportunity there. So what else do we have? You can do pastries, cones, and empanadas. Other pastries as well, things that are not considered kind of traditional pastries, but they cannot just be, they have to make sure that they're not have an ingredient that's refrigerated or has to be kept at a certain temperature while you're selling it. Of course, empanadas, you can only do a fruit-filled empanadas, those like sweet pastries. You can't do anything with meat or cheese, again, because that could spoil, and that would be potentially hazardous. So preserves are huge. You got jams and jellies, applesauces, fruit butters and chutneys, marmalades. These are all items as well that are great, and they sell during the holidays. During this time of the year, fantastic. Snacks such as caramel corns, granolas and popcorn, nuts and seeds, crackers and pretzels. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Now, some of the prohibited items would be perishable baked goods. That would be something that's obviously something that needs to be kept at a certain temperature, or there's only a limited amount of time that you can serve it fresh. If you're looking for jerkies, like beef jerkies and things, that's something that can't be, because that could be, if it's not prepared properly, that could be very dangerous. Sauces, ketchup, juices. These are all fantastic items that make great gifts also for the holidays. So during the fall season, it makes sense to sell those. All right, so now the other thing that you want to keep in mind, what are the limitations? Now, what are some of the restrictions that you can have that are basically part of the regulate for state of Colorado? Now, interstate sales, as we mentioned before, that's something that you cannot do. That means that it goes from Colorado to California, let's say. If you were shipping a product from Colorado to California, that's something that you can't do from a home setting. The sales limit, keep in mind, the sales limit is based upon the food product itself. Variations of the food product would fall in line with that. So if you had 10 different items and you're allowed to sell up to $10,000 per item, it's $100,000 worth of products that you can sell. That's amazing. Most home-based food business laws, cottage food laws, limit you to even 20 or 15,000 overall sales for the whole year, which is not bad. But of course, if you're able to sell more than that, that's the whole reason that you're in business. Now, do I need to have some type of license or inspection? You need to take a food handler course. So you must take a food handler course, which can be taken online, and normally those are about $15. So if you would prefer to take a course in person, I know that the CSU, Colorado State University Extension's Food Safety Program offers that, but that could be up to about $30 to take that in person. Now, business license. So you need to contact basically your county, the local county and city ordinances, the offices, to find out about having a business license if you would need one. Now, I highly recommend you incorporate yourself. That's different. Incorporating yourself as a business and getting yourself food insurance, food producers insurance, food business insurance to protect yourself and separate your business from your personal. That's something I highly recommend. That's not in every state needed or mandatory, but I personally would recommend that you definitely get yourself incorporated and get yourself insurance. So you're not required to collect sales tax, but you may be required to collect local sales tax. So this would be something you need to contact your county office about, whatever county you may be in the state of Colorado, to find out about the types of taxes you would need to collect, okay? And then how do you remit that? How do you pay that and give that to the state or the county, whomever that may be? Now, labeling. Now, when you're creating a food product from home, there are some label requirements in some states. Colorado definitely is one of them that you would need to have the business address, the business name. So the business address would be where are you making it from, and that would be obviously your home address. The name of your business, the date it was produced. So the date that you made it needs to be on the packet, on the label. Now, all of this information really can be put into one label. You don't have to have 7 different labels. Put it all on one label, stick it on your product, call it a day. Okay, you're just beginning, you're just getting out there, so having a super duper, professionally done label is something you can really do yourself, and I would recommend you check out onlinelabels.com for that. Just make one yourself and print it up as you need it. Ingredients, make sure that your label has an ingredient listing, which is all of the ingredients that you have in the product, the finished product, okay? So it must be done also from the highest weight to the lowest. Okay, so whatever is used, let's say, as I used an example before, chocolate chip cookies, flour is probably the biggest quantity. So put that first and then trickle it down to the smallest. Okay, phone number and the product name. So the phone number needs to be on there. So in case someone has an allergic reaction, it's kind of like having the business address. They need to know where they can get in touch with someone if someone were to get sick or ill or something happened. So the product name, if you've had a name for it, if it's, Sarah's Decadent Chocolate Cookies, then that needs to be on there, okay? Make sure you have that. And then lastly would be the statement. That is the disclaiming statement showing that, you're producing it at home. It's not a commercial facility. It's not inspected by the state. So the consumer knows that it's actually a homemade product. It's not something that's in a licensed, regulated, insured, and all that kind of setting. So commercial settings have different types of labels that they would need to put. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it up. I hope that gave you some basic outline of what you can do in Colorado and what you can do from home. I'm going to give you a handful of links down in the description below. You can check out some more specific information right directly on some of the Colorado cottage food websites. They're great links. Check them out. As always, if you're looking for some assistance or if you need some consulting help with your food product, I have a ton of different consultations available. And as always, I thank you for taking the time to listen to the podcast. And if you haven't checked out Marketing Food Online on YouTube, check out our YouTube channel as well. So I'll see you guys on the next video or talk at you on the next podcast.